The massive Empire warship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. On its bridge, Grand Commander Robert smiled coldly at the blue-green planet displayed on the main screen. Earth looked so small, so insignificant compared to the mighty Empire's worlds. "Send the message," he ordered, his voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of Empire rule. The message was simple: submit or be destroyed. The Empire had sent this same message to 100 worlds before, and each time, the result had been the same: immediate surrender. After all, what primitive species could stand against the combined might of 1,000,000 worlds? But the response they received was different this time. "We will not bow. We will not submit. This is your only warning. Leave our space, or face the consequences." The message came from the Humans' United Government, established just days after the Empire's arrival. Grand Commander Robert laughed. "They dare to threaten us. Launch the first wave. Let's show these primitives what real power looks like." 500 Empire ships moved forward, their weapons charged. According to their scans, Earth had only a handful of space stations and a small fleet of primitive warships. This would be over in hours. The first shot was fired by the Empire, a massive energy beam that should have destroyed Earth's largest space station. But something unexpected happened. The beam scattered against an invisible shield. "Impossible," Robert shouted. "Their technology level shouldn't allow for energy shields." Before the Empire fleet could react, Earth's primitive ships moved. They were smaller than Empire vessels, but incredibly fast. And they carried weapons the Empire had never seen before. Projectile weapons that their energy shields couldn't stop. "Sir, we're losing ships," an officer reported, panic in his voice. "Their weapons, they're using physical ammunition. Our shields are useless." Robert watched in horror as human ships darted between his larger vessels, firing their strange weapons. Empire ships, designed to fight energy weapon battles at long range, had no defense against these close-range attacks. "Launch our fighters," Robert ordered, but it was already too late. The humans had planned for this. From Earth's surface, thousands of missiles launched upward. The Empire's automated defenses, designed to stop energy weapons, couldn't track the simple ballistic trajectories. 20 Empire ships disappeared in nuclear fire. "Sir, we just lost contact with Battle Group 7. The humans, they're using some kind of primitive atomic weapons." Robert couldn't believe what he was seeing. These humans were fighting like no species the Empire had ever encountered. They didn't follow the proper rules of space combat. They didn't maintain formation. They didn't focus on shield strength. Instead, they fought like creatures who had spent their entire history fighting each other. And they were winning. "Fall back," Robert finally ordered, watching as another group of his ships vanished in nuclear fire. "All ships, emergency retreat." As the Empire fleet fled, they received one final message from Earth. "We warned you. This was just a taste of what humanity can do. Next time, we won't be so gentle." Back on Earth, in the newly established United Earth Defense Command, Admiral Thomas stood looking at the battle results. Humanity's first space battle had been a victory, but he knew this was just the beginning. "Send word to all Earth nations," he ordered. "Begin full war production. The Empire will be back, and next time they'll be ready for our tricks." His assistant nodded. "Sir, should we begin Project Iron Shield?" Thomas looked at the stars through his command center window. Yes, the Empire thought they were attacking a primitive species. Instead, they just woke up humanity's worst nightmare, our ability to wage war. As emergency alarms sounded across Earth, humanity prepared for what they knew was coming. They had fought each other for thousands of years, perfecting the art of war. Now they would show the galaxy why you should never threaten a species that evolved on a death world. The first strike was over. The real war was about to begin. In the Empire's Central Command, located on their capital world, the mood was dark. Military analysts gathered around a large holographic display showing their recent defeat at Earth. Grand Commander Robert stood before the High Council, his head bowed in shame. "Explain how a primitive species defeated our best ships," the High Commander demanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. Robert played the battle recordings again. "They fight like animals," he said. "No proper battle formations. No standard tactics. They used explosive weapons that we haven't seen in 10,000 years." The Empire's chief military scientist, Dr. Marcus, stepped forward. His research into human history had revealed disturbing facts. "My lords," he began, "these humans are unique. Every other species we've encountered developed through cooperation. Their histories show gradual progress through peaceful advancement." He displayed images of Earth's history on the main screen. "But humans, they evolved through constant warfare. Their entire history is an endless series of battles. While other species were learning to farm, humans were inventing new ways to fight." The council members watched in horror as images of human battles played across the screen: ancient sword fights, medieval sieges, modern tanks, and nuclear weapons. "That's not the worst part," Marcus continued. "Earth is what we call a death world. High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous predators. Humans are the only known species to evolve on such a planet. Their bodies are naturally stronger than any other species we know." In another part of space, aboard the human flagship Thunder, Admiral Thomas reviewed reports from their spies in Empire territory. The Empire's reaction to their defeat was exactly what he had expected. "They still don't understand," he told his officers. "The Empire thinks technology alone wins wars. They forgot the most important factor: the will to fight." He brought up a map showing Empire territory. "Their soldiers have never faced real combat. They've only fought battles against worlds that surrendered immediately. But us," he smiled grimly, "we've been fighting since we learned to walk." Back in Empire space, their next attack force was preparing. This time, they'd brought 3,000 ships instead of 500. They had adapted their shields to stop physical weapons. They thought they were ready. They were wrong. When the Empire fleet arrived at Earth, they found nothing. The human ships were gone. The space stations were empty. Even Earth itself showed no signs of activity. "Where are they?" the fleet commander wondered. His answer came in the form of hundreds of small ships appearing from behind asteroids and space debris. The humans had hidden their fleet using the oldest trick in warfare: ambush. But this time, the Empire was ready for physical weapons. Their new shields held against the human attacks. Then something new happened. Human ships started ramming into Empire vessels at speeds that turned both ships into expanding balls of plasma. The humans were sacrificing their own ships to destroy Empire vessels. "They're insane," an Empire officer screamed. "No rational species sacrifices ships and crews like this." The Empire fleet retreated again, having lost 800 ships to destroy just 30 human vessels. Their new shields had worked perfectly against human weapons, but they hadn't counted on humans using their ships themselves as weapons. In the Empire Council chamber, the reports brought more shock. "They adapted," Marcus explained. "When our shields stopped their weapons, they found another way. They always find another way." He displayed more human history. "Look at their wars. Every time one side developed a perfect defense, the other side found a way around it. They call it thinking outside the box. They've spent thousands of years perfecting this way of thinking." Admiral Thomas received the battle reports with satisfaction. The Empire's new shields had been exactly what he expected. "Send word to begin Phase 2, he ordered. "Sir," his assistant asked, "the Empire still outnumbers us 1,000 to 1. How can we win?" Thomas looked at the battle map, his eyes gleaming. "Numbers don't win wars. The Empire has quantity. But we have something they've never faced before: human ingenuity born from endless conflict. And now, they're about to learn why you should never corner a species that turns survival into an art form." The real lessons were about to begin. The Empire's newest battle fleet moved carefully through the asteroid field near Mars. After 2 major defeats, they weren't taking any chances. 5,000 ships, their best crews, all searching for the human fleet. They found nothing. Again. "Sir," an Empire officer reported, "no sign of human vessels in this sector." The fleet commander nodded. They had been searching for 3 days. The humans had to be somewhere. Their ships couldn't just disappear. Then the asteroids started moving. "Sir," multiple objects approaching. The officer's voice rose in panic. "The asteroids, they're not real." What the Empire had thought were simple space rocks were actually disguised human ships and weapons platforms. They had been hiding in plain sight, covered in asteroid-like materials that fooled Empire sensors. The battle that followed was unlike anything in Empire history. Small human ships darted between the larger Empire vessels, too close for the big ship's weapons to target effectively. But instead of attacking, the human ships were attaching something to Empire hulls. "What are they doing?" the fleet commander wondered. He got his answer moments later when the devices activated. They weren't weapons. They were hacking units built using stolen Empire technology. Suddenly, ship after ship lost control of their systems. In Earth's underground command center, Admiral Thomas watched the battle through secure feeds. "Begin Phase 2, he ordered. The next wave of human attacks used the Empire's own ships against them. Hacked vessels fired on their allies, causing chaos in the Empire formation. The Empire had never considered the possibility of their own technology being turned against them so quickly. "This is impossible," the Empire commander shouted as his fleet fell into disorder. "How did they learn to use our technology so fast?" The answer lay in Project Phoenix, humanity's secret weapon development program. Scientists had been working day and night, combining stolen Empire tech with human warfare concepts that the Empire had never imagined. But the real surprise was yet to come. As the Empire fleet struggled to deal with their hacked ships, hundreds of small objects appeared on their sensors. Too small to be ships, too fast to be missiles. They were space marines in powered armor suits, another concept the Empire had never considered. While the Empire always fought ship-to-ship battles, humans had adapted their ground warfare tactics to space. "Enemy borders." The cry went up across multiple Empire ships as armored humans cut their way inside. The Empire's internal security forces, used to dealing with pirates and smugglers, found themselves facing trained soldiers in powered armor. One Empire ship after another fell silent as human marines took control from the inside. The Empire crews, despite their superior numbers, couldn't stop the heavily armored humans in close combat. "Retreat," the fleet commander ordered, but it was too late. His own ship's systems were compromised, and he watched helplessly as human marines broke onto his bridge. In the Empire's capital, the High Council received the devastating news. Their third fleet had been defeated, this time losing over 2,000 ships. Worse, many of those ships had been captured intact, giving humans even more Empire technology to study and adapt. "How do they keep doing this?" one council member demanded. "Every time we think we understand their tactics, they do something completely different." Dr. Marcus had the answer. "Look at human military history," he explained. "They never fight the same way twice. They call it adaptation and innovation. While we've spent thousands of years perfecting one way of warfare, they've spent their history inventing new ways to fight." Back on Earth, Admiral Thomas reviewed the battle results. "Begin distributing the captured Empire technology to all our shipyards," he ordered. "And launch Operation Scattered Thunder." His assistant checked the operation details. "Sir, are you sure about this? Scattered Thunder goes against all traditional space warfare tactics." Thomas smiled. "Exactly. The Empire thinks they're fighting a space war. We're about to show them that humans don't care about traditional tactics. Sometimes the best way forward is to do what your enemy thinks is impossible." As signals went out to Earth's hidden fleets, the next phase of the war was about to begin. The Empire was about to learn that humans had only been warming up. For the first time in 10,000 years, fear filled the halls of the Empire's High Council. The massive chamber, usually a place of order and control, now echoed with angry shouts and desperate arguments. 3 fleets destroyed. Thousands of ships lost. One council member shouted, "How can these humans keep defeating us?" High Commander William, newly appointed after the previous commander's resignation, stood before them. "We have developed a new weapon," he announced, "a biological virus designed to target humans specifically." The Empire had never needed such weapons before. Their regular fleets had always been enough. But humans were different. Humans kept winning. On Earth, Admiral Thomas received the warning from their spies about the Empire's new weapon. He wasn't worried. "Let them try," he told his officers. "They don't understand what a death world means. Our immune systems evolved fighting the deadliest diseases Earth could produce." The Empire launched their attack the next day. Thousands of biological weapons were fired at Earth and its colonies. They watched, waiting for the humans to start dying. Nothing happened. "Impossible," William shouted, reading the reports. "The virus isn't affecting them at all." Dr. Marcus, the Empire's chief scientist, explained the failure. "Their immune systems are too strong. Earth's diseases are far deadlier than anything we could create. They're naturally immune to our best biological weapons." But the Empire's problems were getting worse. Reports came in from their outer worlds. Human fleets had been spotted in multiple sectors, attacking Empire supply lines and shipyards. The Empire had always relied on its size for defense, spreading their forces across thousands of worlds. Now that same size made them vulnerable. "Sir," an officer rushed into the council chamber, "3 more colony worlds have declared independence. They say the humans are offering them protection from the Empire." This was humanity's new strategy. Instead of trying to fight the entire Empire at once, they were breaking it apart piece by piece. Every world that declared independence weakened the Empire's resource base. Admiral Thomas looked at the latest battle reports with satisfaction. "The Empire never understood guerrilla warfare," he said. "They think size equals strength. They never learned that big targets are easy targets." The Empire tried to respond by gathering another massive fleet. But before they could attack Earth again, human ships appeared in their home system itself. "How did they get past our defenses?" William demanded. The answer was simple but shocking. The humans had copied Empire teleportation technology, but used it differently. Instead of moving entire ships, they teleported small nuclear bombs directly into Empire space. Panic spread through the Empire's capital as their orbital defenses exploded one by one. They had never imagined someone would use teleporters as weapon delivery systems. In desperation, William ordered his private flagship prepared. "We must show these humans real power," he declared. "Prepare the planet destroyer." But even as he gave the order, more reports arrived. Human ships had been spotted near 15 more Empire worlds. Each fleet was small, but they forced the Empire to spread their remaining ships thin, trying to defend everything at once. "They're using our size against us," Dr. Marcus realized. "While we try to defend 1,000 worlds, they can choose exactly where to strike." On the Empire capital, William watched his mighty civilization beginning to crack. More colonies were declaring independence every day. The Empire's ships couldn't be everywhere at once. "How?" he asked Marcus. "How can they be defeating us like this?" Marcus looked at the latest human battle recordings. "Because they're not fighting the way we expect. Every time we think we understand their tactics, they change them. They're not fighting a war of strength against strength. They're fighting a war of minds." Admiral Thomas received news of the Empire's growing chaos with grim satisfaction. "Begin the next phase," he ordered. "It's time to show them why you should never push humans into a corner." The Empire was about to learn its hardest lesson yet. Sometimes the biggest enemy isn't the one you're fighting, but your own assumptions about how war should be fought. Operation Thunderbolt began at exactly midnight Earth time. Across Empire space, human fleets appeared simultaneously at 30 different locations. No one in the Empire had expected an attack on this scale. Admiral Thomas stood on his flagship's bridge, watching tactical displays light up with battle reports. "Send the message," he ordered. The message was broadcast on all Empire channels. "You can surrender now, or you can surrender later. Either way, the Empire ends today." In the Empire's capital, alarms blared as reports flooded in. High Commander William rushed into the council chamber, his face pale with shock. "Multiple attacks everywhere," he reported. "They're hitting military bases, shipyards, supply lines, all at once." The Empire had always relied on its ability to move ships where they were needed. But now, with so many targets under attack at the same time, they couldn't defend everything. On the mining world of Drex, human ships appeared right next to the Empire's largest shipyard. But instead of attacking directly, they launched thousands of tiny drones. "What are those?" the base commander wondered. The drones weren't weapons. They were broadcasting devices. They began transmitting videos of Empire defeats, showing how humans had beaten their forces again and again. The broadcasts went directly to every screen on the planet. This was humanity's new weapon, information warfare. "The Empire has lied to you," the broadcasts declared. "They said they were unbeatable. They were wrong. They said humans were primitive. They were wrong. Now ask yourself, what else have they been wrong about?" Similar scenes played out across Empire space. On some worlds, humans demonstrated their power by precisely destroying military targets while leaving civilian areas untouched, showing a level of control the Empire had never mastered. "Sir," an officer called to William, "3 more sectors have declared independence. Their leaders say. They say humans are offering them seats in a new Galactic Council." This was Admiral Thomas's master strategy. Instead of trying to conquer the Empire, humans were offering its world something better: freedom and representation. The Empire tried to respond with force. They sent ships to punish rebellious worlds. But every time their ships arrived, human forces were waiting. "How do they always know where we're going?" William demanded. The answer was simple but brilliant. Humans had found a way to track Empire ships through hyperspace, something the Empire had always thought impossible. Back on the flagship, Admiral Thomas received word that Phase 2 of Operation Thunderbolt was ready. "Begin nuclear bombardment of military targets," he ordered. Across Empire space, human ships launched small, precisely targeted nuclear weapons at military installations. The Empire's shields, designed to stop energy weapons, couldn't block the primitive but devastating atomic bombs. Base after base, just gone, an Empire officer reported. "They're destroying our military infrastructure, but civilian areas aren't even being touched." This precision was sending a powerful message to Empire worlds. Humans weren't conquerors like the Empire. They were liberators. Dr. Marcus, watching the battles unfold, finally understood. "They're not just winning the war," he told the council. "They're winning the hearts and minds of our people. Every precision strike, every civilian area left untouched, every offer of freedom. They're destroying the Empire without destroying its worlds." Admiral Thomas looked at the battle reports with satisfaction. The Empire was crumbling faster than expected. Their rigid military structure, once their strength, had become their weakness. "Send the final message," he ordered. Throughout Empire space, screens lit up with a new broadcast. It showed scenes from Earth's history, not of war this time, but of peace, of different nations working together, of former enemies becoming allies. "This is what we offer," the message said. "Not control, but cooperation. Not submission, but partnership. The choice is yours." World after world began declaring independence from the Empire. The mighty Empire that had lasted 10,000 years was falling not to brute force, but to something they had never expected: the human ability to turn enemies into allies. As reports of more defections poured in, Admiral Thomas allowed himself a small smile. The Empire was about to learn its final lesson. Sometimes the strongest weapon isn't a weapon at all. It's an idea. The Empire's capital world burned, not from human weapons, but from riots in the streets. Citizens who had lived under Empire control for generations were finally rising up. High Commander William stood in his command center, watching his world fall apart. "Ready the Death Star," he ordered, naming their secret superweapon. "We'll show these humans what real power looks like." The massive weapon, hidden inside a small moon, had taken 50 years to build. It could destroy entire planets. The Empire had never needed to use it before. Just knowing it existed had kept their worlds in line. But humans had already seen the weapon plans. Admiral Thomas watched from his command ship as the Empire revealed their final weapon. "Begin Operation Trojan," he ordered, a small smile on his face. The Empire's super weapon powered up, its massive energy beam targeting Earth. William smiled. Soon, the human homeworld would be destroyed, and the rebellion would end. He pressed the fire button. Nothing happened. "Sir," an officer shouted, panic in his voice. "The weapons systems aren't responding." For 3 months, human computer experts had been secretly inserting code into the weapons systems. Lines of programming so small, so well hidden, that the Empire's best technicians hadn't noticed them. Now those lines activated. The superweapon's own energy turned inward. Systems overloaded. Power cores went critical. "Evacuate," William ordered, but it was too late. The Empire's greatest weapon destroyed itself in a massive explosion that lit up space. On 1,000 worlds, people watched the explosion through their view screens. They saw the Empire's ultimate weapon fail, and with it, the Empire's image of invincibility died. "Send the messages," Admiral Thomas ordered. Across Empire space, humans broadcast the truth. The Empire's weapon had been designed to destroy entire planets, to kill billions of innocent people. The Empire hadn't built it for defense. They'd built it for terror. The response was immediate. Empire worlds that had been neutral now turned against their rulers. Military ships began deserting, their crews refusing to fight for leaders who would build such weapons. In the council chamber, chaos erupted. "How did they do this?" one member screamed. "How did they defeat our greatest weapon?" Dr. Marcus had the answer. "They let us build it," he said quietly. "They knew about it all along. They wanted us to try to use it, because they knew when it failed, the Empire's own worlds would turn against us." He looked at the tactical displays showing more and more worlds declaring independence. They didn't just beat our weapon. They turned it into a tool to destroy our authority. On his flagship, Admiral Thomas received the reports of Empire worlds surrendering. But he wasn't celebrating yet. "Begin the final phase," he ordered. Human ships appeared in the Empire capital system in massive numbers. But they didn't attack. They just waited, blocking all escape routes. Inside the council chamber, civil war erupted. Some members tried to surrender. Others wanted to fight to the death. Guards turned against each other. Shots were fired. William tried to escape in his personal ship. He made it halfway to the system's edge before human vessels surrounded him. "Surrender," came the message from Admiral Thomas. "Or don't. Either way, the Empire ends today." William looked at his tactical screen. Every escape route was blocked. His ship's weapons were useless against the human vessels. He had no choice. The Empire's last leader surrendered not with a great battle, but with a quiet message: "We yield." Throughout Empire space, the news spread quickly. The Empire that had ruled for 10,000 years had fallen, not to a stronger empire, but to a species that had turned warfare into an art form. Admiral Thomas stood on his bridge, watching the surrender broadcasts. "Send the final message to Earth," he ordered. The message was simple. The war is over, the Empire has fallen, and the galaxy will never be the same. As his words reached Earth, celebrations erupted across human space. They had faced the greatest empire in the galaxy's history, and won not just through strength, but through intelligence, innovation, and the unique human ability to turn defeat into victory. The Empire had learned its final lesson: never underestimate humans in war. 1 month after the Empire's surrender, representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered on Earth. The Grand Meeting Hall, built specifically for this historic moment, held species that had never spoken to each other under Empire rule. Admiral Thomas stood at the main podium, looking at the gathered delegates. The room fell silent as he began to speak. "We didn't want this war," he said, his voice carrying to every corner. "The Empire forced it upon us. But now that it's over, we have a choice. We can either build something better, or we can repeat the Empire's mistakes." On screens across the galaxy, billions watched as humanity revealed their plan for the future. It wasn't what anyone had expected from the species that had just defeated the mighty Empire. "We propose the Galactic Federation," Thomas announced, "where every world has a voice, where no species rules over another, where we work together, not because of fear, but because it makes us all stronger." Former Empire worlds, expecting harsh treatment from their conquerors, were shocked. Instead of demands for revenge, humans offered partnership. Instead of punishment, they offered opportunity. Dr. Marcus, now working with the humans, explained to his fellow former Empire citizens why this approach was so typically human. "Look at Earth's history," he said. "After their greatest wars, humans often helped rebuild their former enemies. They learned that making friends out of enemies was better than keeping them as enemies." The changes came quickly. Human technology, combined with Empire knowledge, created new opportunities for all worlds. Trade routes, once controlled by the Empire, were open to everyone. But humans didn't forget the lessons of war. The new Federation Defense Force will be made up of ships and crews from all member worlds, Admiral Thomas announced, and it will have one primary mission: to protect the freedom of all species. Former Empire worlds began to see why humans had won the war. It wasn't just their fighting skill, it was their ability to turn victory into lasting peace. In the newly established Federation Council, representatives were amazed at how humans handled disputes. They didn't just impose solutions, they found ways to make everyone work together. "This is how Earth's nations learn to cooperate," Thomas explained to the Council. "We spent thousands of years fighting each other. We learned the hard way that peace is better than war, but we also learned that peace must be protected." 6 months after the surrender, the last Empire prison camps were closed. Former Empire leaders, expecting execution, were instead put to work helping rebuild the worlds they had once ruled. "Justice doesn't always mean punishment," Thomas told his officers. "Sometimes it means making people fix what they broke." But humans kept one promise they had made during the war. On every Federation world, a simple message was displayed: "Never again will any species threaten the peace of the galaxy. The Federation protects all, and humanity stands ready." Some called it a warning, others called it a promise, but everyone understood its meaning. A year after the war's end, Admiral Thomas stood on his flagship's bridge one last time. He was retiring, his work done. The galaxy was changing in ways no one had imagined possible. "Sir," his assistant asked, "do you think the Empire would have backed down if they had known what humans were capable of?" Thomas smiled. "We warned them to run," he said. "They chose not to listen. But the galaxy learned something important. Humans aren't just good at fighting wars. We're even better at building peace." As his ship made its final journey back to Earth, Thomas looked at the stars. The galaxy was different now. Former enemies worked together. Former slaves walked free. And humanity had proven that true strength wasn't about how well you could fight. It was about how well you could turn enemies into friends. The Empire was gone, but something better had taken its place. And at its heart was the species that had learned through thousands of years of war that the greatest victory wasn't defeating your enemy. It was making sure you never had to fight them again. The galaxy would remember this lesson for a very long time.